Hey, this is RJ May, and you're watching Mr. Mario 2011.
Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and I guess today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a debunking or random type video, and I'm going to be showing you all what the difference could be, or what the difference would mostly be between a legitimate controller and a knockoff controller. So I got inspired to do this because I actually had two bootleg, knockoff style Nintendo GameCube controllers, and I just got two legitimate ones, and I kind of want to have a complete set of four so I could use them, on my little adapter when I'm playing Smash with friends and all that. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead try and track down some legitimate controllers in town for cheap, and I was able to get some, so I refurbished them and all that. But last night, I ended up opening up one of the bootleg ones I had, pretty much the only one I could find because the other one's somewhere lost in my apartment, and I'll go ahead and show you everything. So first off, this is my legitimate controller right here. Go ahead, unwrap it. Hey, anybody that played on the GameCube or with any type of wired controller, they know what I'm doing right here. When you're a kid, you got to wrap the cable around the controller like that so you can just unwrap it easily and then start playing. So this is a legitimate one right here. I cleaned it up and everything so it doesn't smell like nasty smoke, anything like that. Of course, it says Nintendo GameCube. And the only difference is these nubs, not the nubs, excuse me, the analog sticks, both the C-stick and, the directional stick. I ended up taking off the bootleg controller, actually, because when I got this, I got the controller for really cheap because both of these were completely messed up, and I just threw them away. Then I swapped them out with the bootleg one, and everything seems to be fine on here, so we're good on that. And I'll go ahead and grab the bootleg controller right here. Now, obviously, you can tell this is bootleg because it doesn't have any analog sticks. Just pretend there's analog sticks on here, okay? I promise that they're the ones that are on there, but this is what it would normally look like. So we'll go ahead, unwrap it and everything. And I'll go ahead and open these up for you and all that too. Now, this isn't going to be representative of all bootleg controllers, but I'm just going to show you all this right here. So as you can see, it actually looks very similar and everything. It's nearly a perfect clone, really. But it doesn't have, the Nintendo GameCube branding. You flip it on the back, and it just says Made in China, and it has a little symbol right there that's supposed to say Nintendo, but it doesn't. So very obvious right there. Now, I'll go ahead and cover a few things in here. First off, I'm going to be calling this one the legitimate controller, the genuine one. This one is the knockoff controller. Now, these go according to a few things. Now, there's a difference between third-party controllers and knockoff controllers. A third-party controller is like Mad Catz, Logitech, whatever it is. Their brand is on the controller. It's their own thing, whatever. A knockoff controller is a controller that is trying to replicate an original controller, but it's just something like this, where it's the exact same, except it just does not have branding on it because, they really can't do that. And normally, I actually price these out online. From what I saw on Amazon, you could actually get two of the knockoff brand new GameCube controllers for like $12. So they're super cheap, while it's like a GameCube controller like this. I got this one for a lot cheaper, but I tried buying a used GameCube controller from a store in town, and they were charging like $15. So, you're going to pay a lot more, but trust me, you do pay for quality. So normally, these knockoff controllers, they're very common online on sites like, if you shop on Amazon. If you get them officially, they're not going to be. You have to look for, ones that aren't legitimate. On eBay, if you get them from China or other, third-party resellers, they're definitely going to be like that. Or anybody that's overseas. For example, if you are outside the US, maybe you're in the Middle East, anything like that. Like last time I went to the Middle East, oh my God, they did such good branding on their PlayStation controllers. But trust me, there was a big difference with the way they play. And I'm going to show you all this because there might be some people that are interested. There's probably some people that are overseas who have knockoff controllers and they realize how bad they are. And then there might also be, parents who are watching this, and shout out to all the parents, but parents who are watching this and they want to see, if it's really worth saving the extra money, getting a knockoff controller as opposed to a legitimate one. So for this, I'm going to go ahead, cut on my light. Check this out. Bam! Okay, there we go. So we have the light where we could actually analyze everything right here. I'm actually proud of this light. I just got it because the light in my room burned out recently, and I didn't want to wait a few days in the dark, so I just went and bought this light for like $20 at Walmart. But this will definitely help when I'm doing videos and when I'm doing installs or anything like that. So anyways, enough of that. Let's go ahead, bust these two controllers open right here. But before, we should actually look at it a little bit more. So first off, the thing with this controller is you can just feel the difference. I can't convey that to you because this is a video. video. The cable itself is shorter than this cable right here. The cable feels different than the genuine cable right here. This one's kind of like smooth and all. This one's just kind of, you know, cheap and hard and tacky. I remember I saw a video, it was I think by X Chase Money, and he had a video explaining that he got a fake PS3 controller and how to tell, and he put it the best. He was just like, he had a bunch of PlayStation 3 controllers and he had like the fake one. He said the main difference is the feel of it. Before you even look at it, he was even saying you could blindfold me and just put like a bunch of controllers around me, and if I just like, you know, feel around for them and all that, I'll tell which one is the fake. And you could honestly tell, like this one, just like the feeling of the controller itself, the plastic and everything, there's a difference here. I mean, you could tell the quality downgrade right here in this controller. The Z button, that actually goes in like a Z button. Z button right here, clicks. I actually I don't know if I like this a little more or not, but then the actual analog sticks, the buttons right here, all of those feel fine. These ones feel a little bit smoother, but that could also be attributed to, you know, some wear down on the controller. But, you know, they feel mostly fine on here, honestly. And then the triggers on here, I always like the GameCube triggers, but you got the triggers on the legitimate one, on the knockoff one, they do feel harder to use. Then you actually look at the cosmetics of the controller. As I said, you flip it around the back. We're going to do that with both of these controllers. This one has the Nintendo GameCube logo, Dole, you know, what is this? Dole 003, that's the model number, Nintendo right there. This one just says made in China, and check that out. It's supposed to say Nintendo, but it doesn't. Another obvious thing, I mean, you can fake that stuff. You can fake branding. That's nothing new. That's nothing new at all in the bootleg scene. But one thing is, if you look right here, you can actually see that these use tri-wing style screws, which is Nintendo's own type of screw. It's just triple, it's not flathead, it's not Phillips, it's just three-headed, that's it. Well, 3-point. While as this just use Phillips head screws. So you can open this up a lot easier, but we're going to go ahead and bust both these open. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and bust open the GameCube style, well, the legitimate controller right here. And for this, we will need the tri-wing. So if you mess with any type of Nintendo stuff, I would highly recommend spending a little bit of money, getting the tri-wing controller. And I actually have both screwdrivers right here needed for this. I have a Phillips and I have a tri-wing, but we're going to just go ahead and open this up with the tri-wing. And if you're doing this, make sure you keep track of your screws. Alright, so we now have all 6 screws removed from this controller right here. What we're going to do is go ahead and just part ways with that. And as you can see, we have this side right here, which these things are pretty easy to open. If you want to take these off, you just go ahead, Phillips head screwdriver, take off these 4 screws, and that's it. But you have the triggers right there, no big deal, keep that over to the side. And then what we actually want to look at is the PCB right here, which we're going to take out. Now, I have to say, a huge shout out to Nintendo with this, because like, they are amazing with the build quality on their controllers and systems and all. I've always been actually very impressed. But as you can see, we have the legitimate PCB right there. We have the analog sticks, all that stuff. And then even just like pay attention to all this, because you have the actual Z button right there. That's what it looks like. It's the actual, you know, like type of squishy button, I guess. That's how it gets the squishy feel on it. So we have the Z button right there. And then, you know, even just these things, just like the little pads and all that, everything, like it looks quality. It speaks quality for sure. But definitely just pay attention to that PCB right there. And even like, they even put this little, the name is escaping me right now on what these are. Zip ties, that's it. They even put a zip tie in because this is keyed right here. So I'll even try and show you all. If you put the controller back in, well, the PCB back into the controller shell and all that, which I'll have to go ahead and refocus that a bit. But if you try and put it back into the controller shell, you can essentially just go in, you loop it right there, and it just fits in nice and snug, and then the rest of the cable comes out right there. So easy said. Now let's go ahead, take all this back out. So we don't need this for now, so we'll go ahead, keep these over to the side because there's not too much, but it's just the PCB that's going to be the important part, and the Z button I'm just going to go ahead, throw right there. So that is the legitimate PCB right there. You're going to tell the big difference here. Now we're going to go ahead, crack this thing open right here, see what the difference is between the legitimate one and the knockoff one. So again, as I said, this one's going to be easier actually. We just need a Phillips head screwdriver because, let's be honest, I mean, if you're barely spending any money on this, they're not going to spend the money putting in legitimate screws. They're just going to put in, you know, the cheapest screws they can, but hey, you know what, it's easier for me to open up. But unfortunately, because knockoff controllers do have a tendency to break easier, you're probably going to be opening this up, or it will just go straight into the trash, or, you know, you could use the buttons for something else. All right, now we have all the screws taken off on this. It's not going to be pretty, but let's go ahead and open this up. So it opens up pretty easily, and as you can see, there is an instant color difference right there, and the Z button just kind of came out with me just tapping it. But we're going to go ahead, look right here. There are no little things. Actually, the funny thing is they even put, as you can see, between the real and the fake one, they even put these little guards in. Well, the little holes in for the guards and everything, but there are no guards for this, so there's that. But you could also just tell, like, with the feeling and even how they look and sound, these triggers are much cheaper. These springs are cheaper, all the components are cheaper and everything. I mean, look, even just like this part right here, the little pad is starting to come off and everything. So we're gonna go ahead, put those over to the side up there. Now this is what we want, the actual PCB. This is the heart and soul of the controller. Now first off, as you can see, the little motor right here, it actually stays into the legitimate one. So we're going to have both those upside down. This one pops out really easily, almost too easily. We're going to go ahead, take this out. This whole assembly is coming out way too easy. Like, this is even, geez. Like, it didn't come out this easy when I took it apart the first time. This is my second time ever taking this thing apart, but Okay. Gonna have to move it around a little bit. There we go. Okay, after a little bit of struggling. So first off, as you can see, even with the pads right here, the pads, not nearly as high quality. The little directional pad just went ahead and popped out. But you have all the button pads right here compared to these ones where, I mean, you could just tell from a glance. If I showed these to people who didn't know anything about electronics, they could tell these ones are lower quality than these ones. Even just to wow, even like just like touching them, you could tell like they're more stiff and all that. While as these ones, you know, they're actually, you know, they're quality. There's quality right there. You can actually feel the difference. So we're going to put that there. The Z button, this is why I was stressing the Z button so much, okay? The legitimate Z button, it actually has like this little bendable thing right here. This one clicks because it has it, but you can't bend it or anything. As you can see, just right there in the actual button itself. So that's why you really can't do too much with it. So Z button's gonna go over to the side. And now let's look at this ugly thing. So first off, this huge glomp right there, you could just see like the glue and everything. You shouldn't really be able to see that too much. So we're gonna compare the two right there. As you can see, I mean, the wiring is a lot different on these. I mean, this one, it's not nearly as intricate. It looks like cardboard, funny enough. And then just, I mean, just look at them. It speaks magnitudes of the quality just by looking at them. I don't even need to say anything, but I'm going to say stuff because, you know, it's my own video and I'm talking. But as you can see, even this right here, this portion was soldered in. This portion was just glued in, well, soldered, but then just like glued in sloppily and all that. The little motor right here, not nearly as good as the motor in the legitimate one. I think it's even, yeah, it's a smaller motor too. It's also a smaller motor just by noticing it as well and all that. And then, you know, even just like this part right here, just like everything is noticeably lower quality. We're gonna go ahead and flip it over because this is where it gets uglier. So as you can see, the motor just popped out because it doesn't really fit in there. Or it doesn't have the proper cushioning. I'm gonna go ahead and move this out of the way. Also, one thing I want to notice, you know, the zip tie is present in this controller. This controller, the fake one, it is not present, the knockoff one right there. So, I mean, as you can see, you have the knockoff one. This thing is also noticeably lighter than the genuine one. The genuine one it does have more weight to it. I think that's also because of the motor and all that, of course, but this one is just noticeably lighter, like almost too light. And as you can see right here, we have the main chip. That's pretty much, you know, the brain of the controller. Right here, it's been moved over, and it is just glomped with epoxy on there as well, too. But even so, you can just see that all the work done on here is just noticeably lower quality and everything. Oh my God, I didn't even notice this. Look at this. Look at this. This is amazing. Right there, there's a start button, but there's also buttons for slow mode and turbo mode. And right here, there's only just one area for the button. As you can see, that is just for the start button. So this PCB right here actually has potential to have a turbo mode and a slow mode, but because of how the actual controller itself is keyed out, there's only one button available right there to press. So unless you open this up, you would never know. So that was actually, okay, that's pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't notice that my first time around. But pretty much, I mean, you just look at that, the look of it, the feel of it, you can tell it's much lower in quality. It's much less intricate. This controller actually has work done on it, and it didn't need a bunch of epoxy right here because, you know, Nintendo has some pretty good work. So I didn't even clean up the PCB or anything like that. Honest, I really didn't. But this PCB is used. This one is pretty much brand new. I mean, just look at the difference between the two. This one, obviously cheaper. This one, there's actual weight. There's quality to it. It looks nice. That's pretty awesome. So this would also answer a few questions for, like, some people might wonder, well, why is it that my knockoff controllers aren't as good? Obviously, they might look the same, they might even feel the same, but the quality difference internally is huge. That is why a lot of knockoff controllers, sometimes buttons stop working. Sometimes they have extra features to entice you, obviously, from the turbo and slow buttons. Sometimes, you know, one big thing with the analog sticks right here, which it's funny because I told my friend I swapped analog sticks, and I meant these sticks right here. Like, I'll just show you. Like an analog stick, if I can get it off. An analog stick, that is it. You can just pop it on and off. That's all you do. That's all you have to do for it. So the actual analog stick itself, the rubber part. Now, he thought I was talking about the little analog portions right here, the parts that are soldered into the board itself directly. And he thought that I had swapped those. And he was telling me, well, is that a good idea? I don't know. And I was like, no, I meant this. And then he's just like, oh, okay, I'm relieved. Because a lot of the times with those bootleg controllers, one common issue is once they start getting faulty, or sometimes even out of the box they're faulty. That's actually quite common as well too, because, you know, like, quality is not nearly as much of an issue there. They're just trying to get them out the door. You might have something where, for example, your camera is always looking left or right, or it's just kind of like moving gradually, or your character is just, you know, just running around in circles or doing something like, the controller is just doing something that it's not supposed to do. And that's quite common of these as well too, just because, as I said, the quality is just much lower. It's marginally lower on this. You can tell. As I said, I mean, the main giveaway is also, look at all the beautiful intricacy of the PCB board right here. You have all the transistors, you have everything nice and clean. I mean, even the color, I mean, they went out, it's white, it's all that. While as this, they just got a cheap PCB, they were able to mass produce it. They didn't want to do anything special with the little, you know, I'll call it the processor on here, so they just glumped epoxy on it. Not nearly as many transistors or anything like that, because obviously it doesn't need to be as intricate as this one right here, because that would just cost them more money in the long run. So, you know, that's really how it works out. But yeah, no, this is the main, and see, this thing is like, even like everything is coming apart on this. This thing is falling apart. I've barely even touched it. So those are the main differences, really, you know, between these controllers. So for anybody asking, you know, is it really worth getting a fake controller over a real one? I mean, the money you save, is it worth it? From my experience, and this is one of my first times ever opening a bootleg controller, but from my experience, no. No, it's really not. I mean, even look, like capacitors right here. I actually opened up another GameCube controller that did have a blue capacitor, but this thing has like two capacitors right there that are just kind of like sloppily put on and all that, kind of like my 8th grade soldering station class, I guess. While as this, it doesn't need them because it's Nintendo. It has this one right here, but as you can see, like, this one is just put in much nicer than this one. I mean, they just like glomped the solder on here, And that's, let me like, you know, actually focus in. This one, they just like glomped the solder on and everything. Just didn't do that good of a job with it. You know, it's like white all over and all that. This one, I mean, you could tell, and this one has age to it too. This is a used controller I got. You got to realize that. This one, you could see the solder and it's nice and even on there. They made the little legs on there as short as they could. There's even remnants of flux on there as well too, which, I mean, flux, if you care about your soldering job, you get flux. That's what you're doing for anybody that has soldered or that doesn't really know about solder. But pretty much, Nintendo did an awesome job with this. This company did not do an awesome job, but hey, that is why this controller would be about $25 and this controller is about $5. So that's it. Now, as I said, would it be worth getting one of these controllers for the money you're spending? Well, I mean, if you want like a decoration or you're getting it for like a kid or something and you don't really mind disappointing them, you know, later on, anything like that, I would say, yeah, it would be okay, I guess. But if you're like really serious about gaming, like you really want to play Smash Bros, you want something with longevity that's actually going to work, that's not going to brick out on you. Because one common thing with these knockoff controllers is they just die. Like that's it, they don't work properly like from day one, or there's something wrong with them, or they just die out of the blue. While as with official controllers, I'm not saying it's impossible, because I've had faulty official controllers from several consoles, but with official controllers, you're not going to get that as often because the quality is much higher. I mean, look at this, the quality is higher on the official controller than the bootleg controller, look at that! I don't need to explain that. I've explained it multiple times and I don't need to. Now, for example, like these controllers, if I was, as I said, if I was getting it and I didn't really care as much, sure, I would get these. But even like my younger brothers, for example, I didn't get them, like for their Xbox 360, I didn't get them wireless controllers because I wanted to save batteries and all, so I got them wired ones. But I didn't get them bootleg wired ones. I got them third-party wired ones, which are better. They're at least officially sold and all that. And I'm kind of glad they did, because they've been through two or three controllers already, just because, you know, they're younger, they don't know how to take care of them as much, the cables get ripped up and then they stop working, or they get banged around, anything like that. And trust me, in an official controller, you bang it around enough, it's going to stop working. I can attest to that. Although I've never really had it happen with a Nintendo controller, because Nintendo actually knows what they're doing with their stuff. But yeah, that is it right there. So, as I said, recapping finally, for anybody interested in getting a fake controller over a legitimate one, is it worth it? In my opinion, it isn't. For the lower amount of quality, for the disappointment that you're going to get at one point, and you know, for the awkwardness of, you know, having a few friends over, and that one person with the bootleg controller is just like, oh my god, my character is moving around, like I don't know what's going on, like what is wrong with this controller? You know, just go ahead, spend a little bit of extra money, get the official one. And I'm definitely gonna do this more, honestly. Like, I'm more for official ever since I saw this. Oh, that's another thing. This, listen, you don't hear anything on that button. On this button, you hear it. Yeah, see, that's another big difference right there. This one, I think it's even like a little bit bendable too. While as this PCB, I really can't bend it actually. I mean, I can bend it a little bit, but like this one's definitely a little more bendable. This one's like freaking, this is like cardboard compared to this right here. Like this is like, you're like trying to bend like a thin piece of like sheet metal. This is like metal and this is like cardboard. That's essentially what you're dealing with. So, you know, get the metal. The metal is going to be better than the cardboard that you're going to get. But yeah, hope this explained it to you all. Hope this, you know, helped you all out. And for anybody that's ever been interested in, you know, the difference between, you know, a fake controller and a legitimate controller, I mean, now you see the difference, and it's really the internals, the quality of the internals itself. So that's really about it. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.